This video is going to go through how to do an assembly. If you'd like to follow along with this video, you need to download these files, download them to a folder on your desktop or someplace. I've already done this so that we can go through this quicker. Once you have these files downloaded, make sure you know where the folder is. Go to Inventor, go to Projects, Browse, go to where that folder is. Mine is on my desktop. And select the project file. What this is going to allow us to do is open all the files easily inside of our assembly. So create a new assembly. Once you have a new assembly, we need to place the parts. So we're going to go up here to place. We're going to start with the tabletop. So select tabletop, open, click on your screen. There's your tabletop. Right click and select OK. Whenever we do an assembly, we need one piece that is central to the entire thing. That one piece should never move. So with our tabletop, we want that tabletop to be that piece. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click on the tabletop and we're going to come down here about halfway down and we're going to ground it. Once it's grounded, that tabletop won't move, so we can take all the pieces and attach them to the tabletop without worrying about the tabletop moving someplace else on the screen. Once we have it grounded, we can notice over here in the model bar that the tabletop has a thumbtack in it. Sometimes we mess up, we ground a piece we don't mean to. We can always tell what piece is grounded by that thumbtack. Okay, now we're going to place some more pieces. Come here and here to place. If you hold down the control button on your keyboard, you can select more than one piece at a time. So I'm going to hold down control. I'm going to click circle block, hexagon block, square block, and triangle block. Click open. You can see I have all the blocks here. Click once, right click, and click OK. Okay, I'm going to do the legs now. I'm going to click place again, select tabletop leg, open, and I need 4 of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Right click, say OK. Now, each of these pieces are movable. If I click on it, I can move it wherever I want except for the tabletop. To see that, if I go to View, I can turn on degrees of freedom, and every single one of these has 6 degrees of freedom, which is very important information. It's actually on your end of course exam. It has 3 degrees of movement and 3 degrees of rotation. Our job whenever we're doing an assembly is to remove all those degrees of freedom. Once those degrees of freedom are gone, then we have done our job and it is fully assembled. So what we're going to do in order to do assembly is back here on the Assemble tab, we're going to use constraints. The main constraints we're using are a type called mate. There's 2 types of mates. There's a mate, which is like gluing 2 pieces of something together. And then there's flushes, which is just like lining 2 things up. So we're going to start with mates. What we're going to do is we're going to mate all the table legs to the bottom of the table. When you're going to find out that doing this requires you to move this screen around a lot. So I'm going to click on the top of a table leg and then I have to flip this whole screen over. This little block up here is going to become your best friend. So I'm going to click on the bottom of this and flip the table over and click there. Apply. Click on the bottom of the table. click on this top corner, flip it back up, zoom in a little bit, which you can use your mouse wheel for that. Click there, apply, and repeat over and over again. Okay, all the table legs are attached to the bottom of the table now. Now we have to line them up with corners. Notice the corners are rounded, and if I turn this around, the table legs are rounded also on one side. So I want to line them up so the rounded corner of the table leg matches up with the rounded corner of the table. So I'm going to use flushes to do this. So I'm going to click on flush. I'm going to click on a side of the table leg and a side of the table, and notice that they line up perfectly, which is what a flush does. So I'm going to apply that. I'm going to do that again over here. Apply that, and all of the arrows are gone from that table leg. I can no longer move that table leg at all. Okay, so I need to do that with another table leg. Now, your first instinct might be trying to manually grab and rotate that table leg and turn it so that the round part lines up with the round part. There's no need to do that. The constraints will rotate and turn it as you go. You just have to constrain the correct sides to the correct sides. So whenever I can flush this side with this side, it automatically turns that table leg. So now the rounded part is lined up with the rounded part. So I'm going to apply that, flush that, and it's done. So now I just need to do the other table legs. Problem is, I got to figure out which side is rounded. Not any of the sides I can see. Click the home button, and my legs are lined up on my table. None of them have green arrows. Everything is good and happy. So now we have to do shape sorting. We're going to use the same mates and flushes except for with the circle. So we're going to save the circle for last because we're going to do that one special. So let's start with the triangle. So I'm going to go back to mate. I'm going to mate the bottom side of the triangle with the bottom side of the hole, and it plops it right in there. I'm going to do the same thing with the sides. I'm going to mate the sides of the peg with the sides of the hole, and slowly get rid of those arrows. Until we have the peg stuck perfectly in the hole. And we're going to do that with each of the pegs. Now this one is really close. I'm going to have a hard time grabbing that one. So let me cancel this, grab that one, move it out of the way, so I can have a hard or easier time getting the sides for the mate. So now I can click on that, rotate, click on that, and get that moved in there a lot easier. Now, let's say that I messed up. Let's say that I messed up this square. I wanted a different side going down. Anytime you need to delete something, it's really easy. You come over here to the square block. I can open it up. So once I go over the square block, it highlights it. I can come down here. I can see what each of the mates are. So that shows me that I mated. That shows me I mated the square to the table. This mate shows me I mated the sides together. This mate shows me I mated those sides together. If I want to get rid of it, I just right click and go delete. Now it deleted it, and I can move my block in that direction again. So maybe I wanted to mate this side to this side, which really does the exact same thing. Okay, so let me show you how to put the round peg in. What we're going to do is we're going to use something called an insert command. So instead of the mate, I'm going to come over here a couple things to insert. What you need to do is you need to pick one of the circles on the peg, and you pick the bottom circle of the hole, and it plops it right in there. And that's all you have to do. All done. Notice there's 1 degree of freedom left on the peg. It can still twist. There's a way to get rid of that, but that's a little bit more advanced, and we will talk about that later on whenever we get to doing wheels. Other than that, this is finished.